Dear students, today we will study about inspection. What is inspection and what is 4-point inspection, what is 10-point inspection? These are the main topics that we will cover today. Fabric inspection. Generally, when we talk about inspection, it is fabric inspection. So here there is an anonymous quotation by Mr. somebody on inspection. Quality cannot be inspected into things. It must be designed and built/manufactured into them. So, what does it mean by inspection? You see what a famous for me, it's a famous quotation. Quality cannot be inspected into things. It must be designed and manufactured into them. So inspection, by this definition, it means we are dividing the quality into parts, inspecting fabric strength, inspecting fabric fineness, inspecting fabric moisture, inspecting tear strength, all these things. So it's a very good definition. Quality cannot be inspected into things. It must be designed and manufactured into them. The quality should be manufactured into the product. So it cannot be inspected. So anyway, we will go on with that quotation. We will go into inspection definition of ISO 9000 2005. ISO is International Organization for Standardization. ISO, International Organization for Standardization, and American Society for Quality, ASQ 2005. Both the American Society for Quality, ASQ 2005, and the International Organization for Standardization, ISO 9000 2005, define inspection as conformity evaluation by observation and judgment, accompanied as appropriate by measurement, testing, or gauging. So this is the definition: conformity evaluation by observation and judgment, accompanied as appropriate by measurement, testing, or gauging. So I have already told you that what is quality. Quality means meeting customer demands, customer conformance to specifications. So here, whether the conformance is evaluated by observation and judgment. Observation means we may do by some testing. For tear strength, we may do the tear strength testing and we do the observation. For drape, we observe the draping quality. And judgment may be subjective or objective. By measurement or testing or gauging. Gauging means measurement. So this is the definition of inspection. So whether the products conformed to the quality standards, whether the products conformed or not, it is being observed by persons, testing personnel or quality personnel, and judged by measurement techniques or testing techniques or gauging techniques. Next, inspection in reference to quality management in the apparel industry can be defined as the visual examination or review of raw materials such as fabric, buttons, zippers, sewing threads, trims, etc. Partially finished components of the garments and completely finished garments in relation to some standards, specifications or requirements, as well as measuring garments to check if they meet the required measurements. The term requirement sometimes is used broadly to include standards of good workmanship. So here you will observe inspection in reference to quality in the apparel industry is it is visual examination or review of raw materials. Raw materials, what are the raw materials? Fabric buttons, zippers, sewing threads, trims, comma, partially finished components of the garments, whether we have sewn a body part of the shirt or collar part of the shirt, that is partially garment, finished garment, and completely finished garments in relation to some standards, specifications or requirements. So standards, that the bursting strength should be of a non-woven should be 100 grams per text, for example. That is the standard, that is the specification, that is the requirement. We have three words almost meaning the same thing: specifications, standards, and requirements. So this is one more definition of the inspection. It is important to bear in mind that quality cannot be inspected into products. Quality should be designed and built into products. Therefore, quality products cannot be produced by inspection alone. However, inspection is a very useful quality management technique. Quality products cannot be produced by inspection. Please remember that. Inspection is done after the product is produced. Inspection is done after the product is built. So, inspection by itself, it cannot produce good quality products. But nevertheless, inspection is a very useful tool in quality management techniques. So please understand that inspection by itself cannot produce a quality product, but quality products are inspected for useful quality management. The principle involved in inspection is the early detection of defects, feedback of this information to appropriate people, and determination of the cause, ultimately resulting in the correction of the problem. So what is the principle of the inspection? The principle of the inspection is, first you have to find out the defect. If it is detected early, then it is very good, and this information about the defect should reach the appropriate people, and they should find out the cause of the problem or of the defect, and after that it should be corrected, resulting in correction of the problem. So the principle involved in inspection is the early detection of defects, feedback of this information to appropriate people, and determination of the cause, ultimately resulting in the correction of the problem. The New American Webster Dictionary defines a defect as a fault, an imperfection, a deficiency. So this is one definition of the defect by the New American Webster Dictionary 1982. Defect is a fault, an imperfection, a deficiency. So these are the three similar words, synonyms. So imperfections, thick and thin places, those are the imperfections in fabric, in yarn testing. And fault is, this can be these three words can be used in different industries. In protein industry, in food industry, we call it protein deficiency. There we cannot call protein imperfection. Your food you are taking is deficient in proteins, that we can call. Whereas in textile industry we call it imperfections. The thick and thin places present in the fabric are more than the expected. This is an imperfection. And it sometimes can be also be called as deficiency. Fault is a mistake. So that can be used in another electronic industries or automobile industry. So next, the American Society for Testing and Quality Materials defines. So please find out this ASTM. The American Society for Testing and Materials defines a defect as the departure or non-conformance of some characteristics from its intended level or state. ASTM D4850. So it defines defect as, so American Webster dictionary definition is different, and our ASTM definition is different. ASTM means American Society for Testing and Materials. It defines defect as the departure or non-conformance of some characteristics from its intended level or state. So departure from the standards. Tensile strength should be 40 grams per tex, but it is 20 grams per tex. So that is called departure from standard or non-conformance of the standards. The American Society for Quality and ISO define defect as the non-fulfillment of a requirement related to an intended or specific use. The non-fulfillment of a requirement related to an intended or specific use. So this is another definition of American Society for Quality. The non-fulfillment of a requirement. For example, if your cell phone is not able to receive a call, then it is the intended use is to call somebody or to receive a call. If that is intended or specific use, that is the specific use of the cell phone, and if it is not useful in that way, then it is non-fulfillment of the requirement. A defect is simply a condition in a product or an item which will have an adverse impact on appearance, serviceability or saleability of that product or item. So this is another definition. A defect is simply a condition in a product that will have adverse impact on saleability of the product or appearance of the product or serviceability of the product. Suppose if you are buying a fabric and if it has a defect, suppose you bought a shirt and the buttons are not properly stitched, then the appearance will be unappealing to the customer. In that case, it will have adverse impact on saleability. Saleability means market. So selling. So nobody will buy the shirt then it will be loss for the company. Now we will study about the difference between defect and non-conformance. So what is the difference between defect and non-conformance? What is conformance? Conformance means meeting to the standards, meeting the specifications. A defect is a condition in a product or an item which will have an adverse impact on appearance, serviceability or saleability of the product or item. For example, a stain, an open seam, a slub in the fabric, broken button on a garment, loose hanging threads, etc. would be considered defects because they will have an adverse impact on appearance, serviceability, saleability of any garment. On the other hand, so this we have talked about at length. Just now I have spoken about defect, about garment, about button and all these things. On the other hand, non-conformance simply means not meeting requirement. For example, if the buyer's purchase order calls for the size distribution of the garments in terms of 3 small, 3, 6 medium and 3 large sizes, but the apparel manufacturer ships the distribution of 6 medium and 6 large garments, then that is considered non-conformance. Incorrect size distribution has nothing to do with the quality of the garment. Similarly, if the apparel manufacturer ships garments of incorrect color, it is a non-conformance and not a defect. So please understand the definition of non-conformance. Non-conformance means, suppose I ordered for blue color shirts, but the shipper, the seller sent me yellow color shirts, then it is called non-conformance to the requirements. It is not a defect. Please understand that it is not a defect. Defect is if you ordered a blue color and a dark blue color, and if it is light blue color, then it is also non-conformance. So this is about defect and non-conformance. A defect can be non-conformance, but non-conformance is not a defect. For example, a stained garment is a defect as well as non-conformance because it did not meet the requirement of a clean garment. A defect can be non-conformance, but a non-conformance is not a defect. So this can be true, but the vice versa is not true. A defect can be non-conformance. Suppose a button is not stitched properly, it is a defect and it is non-conformance. But in the vice versa, but a non-conformance is not a defect. This is the most important point of the difference between defect and non-conformance. So defects are classified as minor, major. Major defects are also called as critical defect. So a minor defect is a defect which make an item less useful than it should be, but not seriously so. A major defect is a defect which renders the item useless or practically useless. A critical defect is a defect that is likely to cause a hazardous or unsafe condition for individuals using or maintaining that item. So a defect can be non-conformance. I have studied already. So next one is minor defect. Minor defect will not cause problem in saleability, but it will reduce the cost sometimes. Whereas major defect is a defect where the product itself cannot be sold out. It is useless. So major defects give rise to useless fabrics or useless products. Similarly, critical defect is a defect where the defect can cause hazard or the product is not safe or the customer will be in danger if he uses that critical defect produced a fabric or a product produced with critical defect. Suppose if you buy a cylinder, LPG cylinder, gas cylinder, and if the regulator or the pipe or is not good, if it is broken, if the regulator pipe is broken, then it is hazardous. It is a critical defect. It is a major defect. Major defect can also be critical defect. All critical defects are major defects. So this is one more important point. So we have studied lot about the defects and non-conformance and types of defects. Now we will study the main objective of inspection is the detection of defects and non-conformance as early as possible in the manufacturing process so that time and money are not wasted later on in either correcting the defect or writing off defective garments. For inspection to be effective, the entire inspection loop as shown in figure 4.1 must be completed. Inspection helps to collect information which can be used for improvement through corrective and preventive actions. So, what is the inspection loop? First, we do inspection, next, detection of defects, next, feedback of these defects to appropriate personnel, next, determination of causes of defects, next, correction of the defects. This is the loop. So, this is the loop. This is the entire inspection loop. So, an early finding out of the defect will save the time and money because it can be corrected easily and at the starting stage itself. So, inspection, if we talk about inspection, what is the main objective of inspection? The main objective of inspection is to find out the defects, the detection of defects and non-conformances as early as possible in the manufacturing process so that time and money are not wasted later on in either correcting the defect or writing off defective garments. This is the main objective of inspection. Inspection is detection of defects and non-conformance to the requirements. Inspection is also used for sorting good items from bad items, even though that is not the main objective of inspection. Inspection results provide information about quality level of merchandise being produced or shipped. So inspection, the main objective of inspection is to find out the defects, but inspection is useful in differentiating between good items and bad items, good products and bad products, but that is not the main objective of the inspection. Suppose 100 garments are produced and 70 of them are of good quality and 30 of them are not good quality, for example, then inspection is used for sorting good items and bad items, but that is not the main objective. Our objective is to find out the defects. Corrective action is an action taken to eliminate the cause of a defected or existing non-conformity. Preventive action is an action taken to eliminate the cause of a potential non-conformity. So, corrective action and preventive action. There are two things: corrective action and preventive action. Corrective action is an action taken to eliminate the cause of a detected or existing non-conformity. So, corrective action is eliminate the cause of, eliminate means take out, remove the cause of defect. Suppose in draft frame auto leveling, if there is uniformity of the sliver is not proper, then that means auto leveler is not working in the draft frame. So remove the defect in the auto leveler of the draft frame so that the defect can be removed. So that uniformity of sliver of the draft frame is produced. So that is corrective action. Preventive action is an action taken to eliminate the cause of a potential non-conformity. So we have two words, corrective action and preventive action. Corrective action is done after the defect, whereas preventive action it is an action taken before the defect appears. What does it mean? Even before you find a non-uniform sliver in the draft frame, just find out, the production manager or testing manager will find out the cause of the defect and he will take the preventive action. For example, if an open seam is found in a garment and it is repaired, it is a corrective action. However, if any actions are taken to prevent that open seam from happening again, then it is a preventive action. So this is about garment. I have told you about draft frame and spinning. So next we will go to how much to inspect. You inspect, don't confuse with inspector. So inspector is also one person who inspects the moral values of the society or law and order in the society. In an exam, inspection is done. You will be writing final exams and mid 1, mid 2 exams, and in that lecturers will come and inspect whether you are copying or not. That is another meaning of inspection. And here inspection means finding out the defects. There the lecturer will find out the defect of copying or non-conformance of the copying. So this is the word inspection means. So how much to inspect? Before an effective inspection program can be put in place, a fundamental question must be answered. How much should be inspected? The entire shipment or lot? Only a part of it? If so, how big or small a part? How many pieces out of a shipment? The following alternatives will help answer this fundamental question. So, how much to inspect? So here we have different kinds of 5 topics. So I will go through the topics one by one, and after that, so how much to inspect? No inspection, that's one thing. 100% inspection, second point. Spot checking, third point. Arbitrary sampling, fourth point. Statistical sampling, fifth point. So under the heading how much to inspect, we have 5 topics. No inspection at all. So 100 fabrics are produced, no fabric is inspected, then it is known as no inspection. 100% inspection, all the 100 fabrics are inspected for good quality, then it is known as 100% inspection. And similarly we will study about spot checking, arbitrary sampling and statistical sampling. One of the first point, no inspection. One of the options when it comes to inspection is to perform no inspection. If no inspection is done, little or nothing is known about a product or material. In case the material is defective, no one knows until the material is in critical demand. This situation decreases cost. If the defective material is detected before it is put in process, the needless waste of labor, machine time, and rework and so on can be avoided. No inspection also means that next to nothing may be known about a product and no one will be aware of any defects until that product is in the hands of the customer. Then the customer may return it for a refund or may decide never to buy the product again. Either way, cost is incurred or a loss of goodwill created, and in the long run, goodwill is invaluable. Loss of goodwill will result in the loss of repeat business. If the defective product was detected before it is reached a customer, such a loss could have been avoided. Needless to say, this option is not a practical from business viewpoint. So did you understand this paragraph? So it talks about no inspection. If there is no inspection, then it will go to the customer, and customer will see the defect and sees the defect. For example, if he sees the defect, then what will he do? He will return the product. I don't want this product. He will say, I don't want this product. Then what is the loss? Cost. You will lose your cost. And what is the long term loss? You will lose the goodwill. So the whole market, whether it is electronic industry or computer industry or telephone industry, cell phone industry or automobile industry or whatever it is, all these things will depend on goodwill. Goodwill creates brand. Anything Japanese or German is good. Sony company is always good. So that is the goodwill will be damaged if you produce defective items with no inspection. If there is no inspection at all, then in case the customer finds a defect, then it is called as loss of goodwill or loss of cost. Next one is 100% inspection. So no inspection is not feasible in the practical life of business viewpoint. So that is one point. 100% inspection. So no inspection, first point. 100% is inspection. This is the reverse of the first one. 100% inspection is the inspection of every unit of a product. The accept, reject or pass fail decision is not made for the entire lot or shipment but for each unit individually based on the results of inspecting a unit for the quality characteristic concerned. So it gives a good idea about the quality of the 100% inspection, better idea about product quality. 100% inspection does not guarantee detection of all defects, especially when inspection is done by human inspectors. 100% inspection is not 100% effective because of the repetitive action involved. Inspectors' eyes get tired of looking at the similar things over and over again. Boredom sets in. Inspectors go through motion without paying much attention because their minds start wandering due to repetitive mechanical process of inspecting similar things. It is believed that 100% inspection is generally 80% effective. The direct cost of 100% inspection will generally be higher than that of any other inspection. Alternative because of the time and manpower required for 100% inspection. 100% inspection will slow down or lengthen the delivery time. Also, there may be tendency on the part of production to be somewhat lax about quality thinking, and that 100% will catch all the defects. Therefore, this is not a practical option. So, dear students, 100% inspection is also not practical as per the author, not only per the author but generally. So 100% inspection So suppose if 100% inspection is set by the company MD, then what will do the product, what will be the mind condition of the production department? They will think that anyway 100% inspection is there, so nobody will bother about producing a good quality product, because in their minds it is imprinted that production department, in the production department personnel's mind, the idea of 100% inspection is there, so they will not be very specific about producing good quality products. And 100% inspection is, suppose 2000 fabrics are produced and 2000 fabrics has to be tested for button strength or seam strength, then what will be the mental condition of the inspector? He has to check seam strength of 2000 fabrics produced, so it will be repetitive and it will create boredom and it will create routine checking, and this will result in what will it result in? It will result in loss because of the repetitive action of good quality. So repetitive action, this is the inspector's eyes get tired of looking at the same things over and bottom. So this is the mechanical, it becomes a mechanical process. So that's why the author says 100% inspection is not 100% effective, it is 80% effective. That means if 100 fabrics has to be tested, 80 fabrics will be tested correctly and 20 fabrics will be tested with less care and with less attention. So this is also not practical point, this is also not practical. 100% inspection is also not practical because of the too much mechanical process involved in it. So no inspection, 100% inspection. Now I will read out a paragraph by an anonymous person, so please try to listen. The necessity of training farm hands for first class farms in the fatherly handling of farm livestock is the foremost in the minds of farm owners. Since forefathers of the farm owners trained the farm hands for first class farms in the fatherly handling of the farm livestock, the farm owners feel they should carry on with the family tradition of training farm hands of first class farms in the fatherly handling of farm livestock, because they believe it is the base of good fundamental farm and management. So this is too much of farm. It is not FORM, it is FARM. Farm means farmer, right? So farm, so he talks about farm. So next point is, what you have done here is read all the words in the paragraphs or performed 100% inspection of all the words, looking for all the F's in the paragraphs or defects, so to speak. So how many F's did you get? If you got anything other than 36, your 100% inspection was not effective. Oh, this is very, very funny. So the paragraph just now I heard, there are so many forms, F's. So the author says you will be finding out how many F's are there in the above paragraph. So you will be inspecting for F's in the paragraph, and your 100% inspection for finding out F's will be not effective. So this is only a funny exercise given by author. So next class, so today we have studied about the definition of defect and definition of fault, deficiency, imperfection, defect and non-conformance, the difference between defect and non-conformance, and objective of inspection, corrective action, preventive action, inspection loop, and how much to inspect. In the how much to inspect topic, we have studied no inspection and 100% inspection. In the next class, we will study about spot checking, arbitrary sampling, and statistical sampling. Thank you, students.